Good evening and welcome to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Special presentation. Tomorrow is the 4th of July, but today we're going to do a Jantastic Productions Presents. Okay. Last week I promised you a clip of the ceremonies, the Memorial Day ceremonies that I was privy to attending. My husband and I were privy to attending while on vacation in Paris. We were invited by the commander for the American Legion Post number 1. I had gotten in touch with him in regard to a gentleman that financed French Kiss, the musical that I produced for the 50th anniversary of D-Day in Deauville, France. And he invited us to come to the ceremonies on Memorial Day. But before we get to that, I want to touch on this SCOTUS, the Supreme Court. I want to tell you now that if you have not thought about your civic duty as a citizen of this country, as a Black American, believe me, now is the time to put on your Timberlands and your Nikes and get ready to get busy, because our rights, our privileges, not just for us, are being slowly eroded day by day by the Supreme Court. Okay, the first one, they shot down Biden's desire to freeze the payments for, let me say it correctly. It strikes down Biden's plan to forgive millions of their student loans. Now, it's pitiful that some people that graduated in the 60s and 70s are still paying on student loans. You know, that was really predatory lending in its first form for us. One of the first forms for us. They've treated Blacks with predatory lending for years. If you don't know what predatory lending is, just think of the words predatory. Somebody that preys on those that they can take advantage of. You know, that used to be a saying that he who has the gold make the rules. Still kind of stands. The second one, rule that they shot down was that the Christian web designer can turn away business related to same-sex weddings. Okay. That's anything that has to do with LGBT community now, they are a target, just like Blacks are a target. So we have to really choose where we stand on what issues. Rights are rights. People are people, human beings. We're all God's people. We're all God's children. And love is not in the air dealing with any of this. And the last one is that the Supreme Court finally has been able to strike down affirmative action. Now, most of us that went to HBCUs, we didn't have to deal with that in order to get into school, because we were all going to Black schools. So they want us. HBCUs want Black students. So you don't have to go any place where you're not wanted. You know, and naturally people want higher levels of education and certain areas of study that may not be offered in HBCUs, but probably most HBCUs now offer everything that any other school offers. You know, the whole prestige thing comes along, has come over hundreds of years, where they've actually built these schools off the backs of slaves. And some of them are paying for that now. But the affirmative action piece is very important. Today, we were represented on the closing bell by a young progressive Black woman that's I admire a lot. She doesn't know me, but I'm watching her. I've attended one of her events, Miss Nikki Lanier of Harper Slade, and she was privy to being on the panel today for talking about the decision. So let's take a listen to what Nikki Lanier had to say.
The nuts and bolts here, it seems to me the worst thing for any student is to take out massive loans, say for a so-called elite degree, and either not finish or to go into a field where you can't really afford to pay the loans back. Is there perhaps the issue here? Maybe the Ivy Leagues aren't as good a deal for a lot of students, and if their percentages drop in certain demographic categories, it's not the end of the world.
Maybe, but I'm not sure that the research that has been shared is dispositive. I mean, that's certainly contrary to my lived experience and to the lived experience of many Black and brown students that I know that have traversed through many of Ivy League colleges and these universities and done extraordinarily well. Same can be true with Black and brown employees who traverse through many of America's corporate giants and excel and do extraordinarily well. So I'm not sure that the premise upon which the gentleman's research is compelling from my perspective. In fact, I firmly believe that is absolutely critical that employers have some level of preservation of race-based preferences, both in the hiring and selection processes, so that we can assure continued growth, continued representation, and of course continued maturity in our economy as the demographic changes are afoot.
Now, Nikki, when you say race-based preferences, do you mean quotas and set-asides? Do you mean a consciousness that having a diversity of different points of view, different backgrounds, actually benefits them in the marketplace? What do you think is really necessary?
Race-based remediation, right? So we have to acknowledge what has happened specifically and uniquely to Black and brown people in this country. The Constitution contemplated that. It always has understood very well, as has its interpreters, that we have lived in a very race-conscious society forever. And so race-based remediation really is the only cure for race-based ills. And so what I'm talking about is absolutely presumptive selection, the decision to assure that Black and brown people are amplified both in education settings and in professional corporate settings, because it's important to assure that the economy continues to run as the browning of the country ensues.
Richard, this is where, to me, it gets confusing because there's a remediation rationale on one side where you say that there are populations in this country that have suffered and been locked out. But if remediation is your purpose, then if you are, in the case of higher education, bringing in the children of African immigrants who might have been professionals when they came in, right? Or even on the hiring side, then are you really addressing that? But if it's market-based imperatives where you want a diverse workforce because you have a diverse customer base and you want to serve them better, that's a whole different reason. So which is it? Is it clear in higher education or in corporate America exactly what the reasoning is?
Well, the court tried to make clear that remediation is not permissible, that the solution to past discrimination is non-discrimination. So that's at least what they're trying to lay down as a clear rule for higher education now. And we'll see if colleges and universities actually comply. Employers have been doing a lot more race-based remediation in the last 5 or 10 years, I would say. And there have been relatively few legal challenges to it. I think the law is already pretty clear there that race-conscious remediation is not permissible. When these issues have come to court, the courts have said that you can only take race into account when your specific company has a demonstrated discrimination process to try to remedy.
Okay. Nikki, final word here. Do you expect more of a pivot market-based imperatives versus remediation, or do you think it's important for companies to have race-based preferences based on the remediation idea?
John, even before this decision came down, we saw a malaise beginning to set in with many corporations across this country. Unfortunately, we saw a softening in many employers and organizations' commitment to DEI. And my worry is that this sentiment, the premise upon which this ruling now sits, suggests that under no circumstances is race-based remediation a permissible decision point for employers to move forward with looking at how they're going to build out diversity in their workplace. And I just worry really that sentiment will be proliferated in organizations and throughout society and really serve as a detriment to whatever DEI strides we might have realized thus far.
Interesting. I just note that under Tim Cook's leadership, for example, Apple has done a lot more marketing and hiring that is diverse. And I think they've sold more stuff because of it. I don't know if it was a remediation purpose that led them to it. I guess we'll continue to track all of that. Nikki, Richard, thank you.
All right. So that was Miss Nikki Lanier giving her input and her perspective on how affirmative action is being dealt with in the colleges and in the workforce in corporate America. We need to start really paying attention. If we're not paying attention, put on your marching boots, because it's not going to get any better. From my lips to your ears, it's not going to get any better. It's getting ready to get worse. But these are the legal things that they can make laws, they can put into law that have an adverse effect on Black people. I talk about Black people a lot because I'm Black, and it matters to me what happens to our rights and our privileges, because we have not been entitled to anything. We have paid and paved the way for this country to be what this country is today. It's not built on our same moral fiber, but it's built off our sweat and of our ancestors. We paid a price, and a lot of times, right now, if you don't pay us, it causes an adverse effect, a reaction. When you treat people unfairly, you will get different reactions. We've got violence in our cities. It hasn't hit your home yet, but if things continue to go down the path that they're going, I can't see them getting much better. I have hope. I keep trying to have hope, and I have faith. I have faith in our people. I don't have hope. I don't have faith in the system. I don't have faith in the system. Because we vote, and we have to continue to vote, because every now and then, every 35 to 50 years, it turns around to our benefit. Now it's making a turn that's not to our benefit, because hate has risen its ugly head, because people are fearful, because they probably should be afraid. I would say it's probably a very natural thing to be afraid, because if you've depressed people and oppressed people for so long, there's going to be a reaction. So all I'm saying is, everybody keep the faith, keep your marching boots on, do what you're supposed to do, vote, be involved in your community from all levels, from city government, state government, to those small groups that you have in cities that are think tanks for what goes to the government, initiatives. We have to be a part of everything if we want to make a difference and keep our lives on the path that they were going. You know, it looks like we got a curveball going here, but just wanted to share that with you from today, from what went on over the weekend in this country. And now I want to bring you something that was has a little more historical value than what we saw, even though this weekend was truly historical. I mentioned that while I was in Paris that we attended the Memorial Day service at the Arc de Triomphe. And I'll tell this story real quickly. When I lived in Paris, I wrote a musical called French Kiss. And I used all the musicians and all the Black singers and musicians that I could put into this show, more or less like a Black American in Paris. And for Memorial Day, we were able to attend this ceremony that had a procession somewhat on the level of a parade, but it was a very solemn procession to the tomb of the unknown soldier. And I'm going to show you one piece about the procession and the historical moment that my husband and myself were able to participate in. Then I will show you a clip of the musical that I wrote entitled French Kiss. Now, that's the fireworks for the day on this Jantastic Productions presentation. So join us with this one.
I'm sure we are. We're gonna go to the left. You gotta get down, Jesse.
Madame. Ah oui, il ne faudra pas traverser. Lui dit, on recommence.
lancer le ravivage de cette flamme qui brille depuis bientôt un siècle. Rappelons la signification de cette cérémonie. Le 11 novembre 1920, le corps d'un soldat français inconnu, tombé au champ d'honneur au cours de la Première Guerre
Speaking
mondiale,
in French, but I
est
will tell you
solennellement
Memorial Day,
honoré sous l'arc
originally
de
named
Triomphe,
Decoration Day,
avant d'y être inhumé le
was
28
first
janvier
celebrated on
1921.
May 30th,
2 années
1860,
plus
to honor
tard,
those soldiers who
afin que
lost their
soit
lives
perpétué le souvenir de
to
ce
the Civil
soldat
War.
et rappeler la
In
valeur de son sacrifice,
1971, the name was changed to honor all U.S. soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. Okay. Okay. That was very ceremonious, also because at the end of World War II, the Black American soldiers were not able to march in the parade down the Champs-Élysées, which the Arc de Triomphe is at the top of the Champs-Élysées. And our soldiers were not allowed to march. But in this procession on that day, for Memorial Day, 2 Black people were in that procession, Jack Miller and Janice Carter Miller. And we felt like we represented the Black soldiers that weren't able to march down the Champs-Élysées. Now it's 79 years ago that happened. Long time ago, but, that's when it happened. So we felt like we represented. Hope you feel the same way. And the musical that I was saying, that all of this is based around French Kiss. French Kiss, the title is French Kiss, but it's called A Love Affair Between France and America. That's what I envisioned while I was in Paris. And I played the spirit of Josephine Baker, who was also a French patriot. She served in the war, even while as an entertainer, because she was able to carry messages to the troops on the backs of her music that were written in invisible ink. So now I introduce to you French Kiss.
And now before you is a synopsis of the original version of French Kiss, which portrays the love affair between France and America against a bed of American music styles. From the flirtation with Josephine, matrimonial bliss, all sealed with a French kiss. Je dois amour, mon pays à Paris. Je dois amour, mon pays à Paris. Ah, le guerre! All the new friends I've made, I hate to leave them now, but I'll come back for sure next year, some way, somehow. I'll never forget all the good times that we shared. I remember all the nights of jazz that filled the air. Life was good to me. They came Paris, for me down the way that life should be. Music lovers making changes with our hearts.
Music lover, and our love's a symphony. Music lover, you and me. Oh la la, French kiss. Ooh, oh la la, French kiss. Ooh, oh la la, French kiss. Ooh, oh la la, French kiss. First time we meet, we give a kiss on the cheek. It's called a French kiss. Hey baby. Next time we meet, we give two on either cheek. It's called a French kiss. Hey baby. The way we say how do you do, the way we say I love you. They say come on, darling. Touching means I love you. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, ah, ooh la la, French kiss. Ooh, ah, ooh la la, French kiss. Ooh, ah, ooh la la, French kiss. Ooh, ah, ooh la la, French kiss.
Though now revised and simplified, she kept the essence of the original, dressed up each period, accented with comparisons and commonalities, and flavored it with the sweet fragrance of the most popular music styles over the past 50 years. Thus you have it, soon to be seen on stage at one of the most prestigious casinos in the world, the Lieu French Kiss, the beginning.
Ooh la la, French kiss. Ah, ooh la la, French kiss. Ooh, ah, ooh la la, French kiss. Ooh, ah, ooh la la, French kiss. Ooh, ah, ooh la la, French kiss. Mwah. We love you. Yes, we do.
Well, happy 4th of July. Hope you enjoyed some of those historical moments and a sneak preview at something you've never seen before, French Kiss. And remember what I said about all the things that have happened with the Supreme Court and its rulings this past weekend. Setbacks. They're all setbacks. But we're going to take these setbacks and do some step-ups. That's what you have to do. When you get set back, you need to do some step-ups. So get ready, folks, because it's time to step up. It's dinner time. Bon appetit. Enjoy your evening. Be safe on the 4th of July. Okay?